today with David Wolfe. I'm at the Longevity Now conference, which is amazing. We're here to talk today about the Longevity Now program, and I get to have some FaceTime with you, which I'm so happy about. Thank you so much for being with me.
Thank you, Angelique. It's a pleasure.
How did you get started?
You know, there's an old phrase, it's from the Latin, that those who resist their destiny will be dragged by the fates, and those who align with their destiny will be carried on the wings of fate. And that's kind of what happened for me. I kind of resisted what I always knew I should do for a long time in my childhood. And I'd known I should be a public speaker since I was about 4 years old. And I was always selected by all the sports teams I was on to be the public speaker. You know, I would be the person who'd get up and do the closing ceremony, for example, for all the sports teams at the end of the season or whatever. But when I got to be about 23, I had been into nutrition as a very deep hobby, and then it kind of jumped into another level one night because I had a vision. I had actually had a vision one night. And Jack Kerouac wrote it On the Road. He said, "Those who don't listen to a vision are damn fools." And I listened to it. I actually couldn't do anything else, and I've been doing it ever since. That vision basically was an energy of certainty that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Nutrition, health, research, cutting-edge information and transformation using the tools and leverage that we have in this field, which has never been available before to humankind.
Amazing. And the avocado, where did that come from?
Where did avocado come from? When we started out, it started with me, and then I was hanging out with my cousin, and my cousin, after about a week, he's like, "Dude, what is going on with you? Like, what is going on?" Because he saw something was different. I said, "Check this out." So I kind of gave him the whole download on what the mission is. And he signed up on board, and he was really into it. He ended up losing 150 pounds, actually, in that process of transforming his diet and his health. And then my best friend who lived across the street, he also was very interested because he saw that something was different. And when I told him, he thought, "This is great." And so the three of us got together as kind of a superhero team. And just like one of my favorite bands when I was a kid was Kiss, and each one of them is like their own superhero personality and has their own kind of like magical powers, like, you know, a normal troupe of superheroes. We wanted to do that.
You don't get on that stage and spit fire.
I don't have the bass guitar, but I do play the drums.
Great.
And anyway, we all had to come up with superhero names. And my friend across the street, he named himself Captain Wheatgrass. My cousin, he became the Raw Courage Vegetable Man. And we kept coming up with different names for me. Nothing ever worked. And then my cousin said, "Fats Avocado." Like Fats Domino. And that stuck. Something about that stuck. And after a while, the fats dropped off, and it just became avocado. And that's where I'm at today. Been going by avocado for 15 years at least.
Well, it's good. The good thing the fats dropped off. Tell us, I'm in here for the conference, and we're going to talk about this amazing, I'm getting so much information that I'm overloaded, but tell us about this because it is amazing.
So the Longevity Now program is a synthesis of everything I've learned in the field of nutrition in a program which brings it all together and makes it easy for everybody. Now, I've been working with this particular program, the material that's in this book and on these CDs for well over 5 years. It's probably about 6 years now. And over that time, all the people on my team have been coming at me, telling me we need to simplify it, we need to make it easier, we need to make it more accessible. How can we do that? So I spent about 5 years innovating, simplifying, innovating, simplifying, innovating, simplifying. And eventually it turned out to be this program which is accessible actually to anybody at any level. People have never heard of organic food, no problem. This is an entry-level type of program. But it's also very powerful in innovating different approaches for people who are experts in the field of nutrition. And that's a very difficult mix. And I believe that actually that's part of my work, is to take stuff that's very powerful, very innovative, and yet make it available to brand new people and to people who are experts and everybody in between. And I think that's always been the secret of great music as well, interestingly. I've always felt like Pink Floyd was very good at presenting music that's just music, but also if you go deeper into it, there's something more there. And that's how I always wanted my career to be, is if you go deeper, it's going to take you deeper. And it will go as far down that rabbit hole as you want to go.
And it's simple.
And simple. Well, once you're complicated, you're out of court. Once you're complicated, you're done. That's it. If it's simple, however, then you open up every door. And that's the coaching I got from my team, actually, to make it as simple as possible.
Great. So I have a few questions from some of my subscribers. One of them is about anti-aging and wrinkles and skin. Is there something really that you can do naturally to get rid of wrinkles and improve your skin?
Absolutely. There's one thing about the skin that I learned early on that I thought was a very key teaching, and that is your skin is the last place in your body to get nutrition. It's the last place. So the quality of somebody's skin, what's going on with their skin, tells you a lot about the depth of their nutrition. And generally when I meet with somebody or look at somebody, I can tell where their level of nutrition is just by the quality of their skin. You can see it because your skin is representative. That's physiognomy. It's, you know, you can look at somebody and see what their level of health is, see what the quality of their adrenal health is, and their heart and their lungs and all of that. We've got to get better quality nutrition, and in particular more liquid nutrition, in order to get more nourishment actually passing through. And that's why in this program we really recommend, as part of the protocol, to at least have one meal a day that's a liquid meal that consists of food, superfoods, and super herbs. The smoothie update is what I like to say. So it's like the smoothie idea that we all grew up with, but updated to where we really are with our technology and where we really are with our availability of all the goodies, because everything's available now via the internet or some of these health food stores. So if we do that, then we can get more nourishment into our skin from that direction. There's another thing about the skin, and that is you can nourish yourself and your skin directly topically. And I bring forth in this program a lot of innovative skin technologies, from simple things such as using raw organic coconut oil for your skin as a moisturizer. Your skin is mostly saturated fat, and coconut oil is a saturated fat. And we hear all this stuff about no saturated fat. Saturated fat is critical, important, essential for not only skin health, but for all tissue health and cellular health. So it goes from that level of simplicity and all the way to stuff like this, which I have in my pocket. People love when I pull this stuff out of my pocket. What the heck is this stuff? To products like, that's my Ormus Gold product, which I talk about in here. This is a product that took me 17 years to get to here. 17 years. It's been my whole life's work. All this is 3 ingredients. Distilled water, silica, which has a very major part that it plays in the role of our connective tissue and our collagen, and to help get the wrinkles out, and gold. And so we've taken gold and we've tweaked it around, the mineral gold, actually the metallic gold, and we tweaked it around using strategies that I've had to learn over 17 years in order to make it bioavailable topically. And that's all that's in here, but it does have some pretty miraculous effects on any wrinkles or aging or calcification that's going on that shows up at the skin level.
I wonder if the Egyptians, or, you know, I don't know where gold originated from, but maybe it was a medicinal thing first before it became something, you know,
that we wear, jewelry, or something. Maybe it was. I definitely feel like the Egyptians had gotten to this, no question about it. My research has indicated that they have come to this place. And what I like about gold is it's completely non-toxic. It has the history. It's why we chose to work with this particular mineral. We could have worked with other minerals and other precious metals, but because gold has that long history and it has that time-proven side to it, we started there and pretty much ended there. I don't think I've ever gone past this, because we've now got this technology to just inch itself up to even a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better. And it's a lifelong process. You know how it is. This development of body care that's natural, that's organic, that's healthy and sustainable, I believe is one of the fastest growing industries in the Western world. And so I like to stay on the cutting edge of it and go beyond kind of where the creams and lotions are, all the way to this kind of stuff.
Great. And of course you just mentioned the calcification.
Yeah.
And I just watched an amazing interview with you talking about actually the calcification of the pineal gland, which I find fascinating. How did you get into that? How did you discover this is something that's been going, I mean, it's relatively new to me hearing about this calcification of our bodies. How long have you been studying this?
I really tracked my way into calcification as being the big problem about 6 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the way it was presented to me was through a number of synchronicities, which eventually landed a book in my lap, which was called The Calcium Bomb. And that book brought it to light that, oh, we're dealing with actually infections. So when somebody has calcification, for example, arthritis, coronary plaques, heart disease, cancer, and the hardness of the cancer or the tumor, that hard layer is actually a calcium layer. Cataracts, or bad calcium in the eye. Kidney stones, bad calcium in the kidneys. Gallstones, bad calcium in the gallbladder. What we're really dealing with is coral-like or mussel-like or oyster-like organisms. Organisms that are microscopic, like bacteria or viruses, that form shells. And that discovery that we're dealing with an infection, that angle on it, that's when I suddenly went, uh-oh, here we go. That then led me to medical research and actually digging up the journals. I actually had a very good friend of mine who's a genius. She's just absolutely a genius. And I said, get me every single medical journal entry you can get in your psychology school. She was in kind of a medical school, but more in the psychology department. And she just started sending me emails of studies, about 80 of them on the subject. And through reading that material, that's how the innovations that ended up in the Longevity Now program came to be.
Calcification and fluoride. I'm sure you have something to say about the fluoride as well. I mean, do you think that this is something that is the FDA or the food companies? Do you think that they're planning to make people sick or doing this, or you just think it was an ignorance, or what do you think?
Mostly it's an ignorance, but at the very top of those ivory towers, it's being done on purpose. That's my feeling about it. There's very little evil in the world, but the evil that is in the world is very serious and very diabolical. Mostly people are acting out of ignorance. Mostly people are good-hearted in general. And the people who are at the very top, who are into manipulation and control, in particular control issues, those people are running the switches of civilization, unfortunately. Now, when we're dealing with things like fluorine and fluoride in our water and chlorine in our drinking water and the chemicals and carcinogens that we produce since 1940, 75,000 of them actually, which is an unbelievable number. What we're really dealing with is cellular irritants. We're dealing with substances like margarine that disturb the cell membrane. We're dealing with substances like dioxin that disturb the cellular environment, so that the cell is getting incorrect signals. It's toxified. It's in a toxic environment, and that makes it more susceptible to damage, to nucleic acid damage, which is DNA damage, or the development of cancer, and it makes it more susceptible to infections. So what I'm saying about calcification is really we're dealing with infections. I mean, we know now, and the research is indicating this, and will continue to indicate this more and more, that somebody doesn't die of a heart attack because they have high cholesterol. That's total nonsense. 50% of people who die of a heart attack have normal cholesterol. So right there, that indicates, we're dealing with a bad theory. What's really happening is we're developing infections in our coronary artery, and part of the side effect of those infections is calcification. So part of the side effect of the growth of coral in an ocean, and we're an ocean, is the development of residual debris or coral reefs that's been left over. As we accumulate more of that coral reef material or bad calcium in our body, our health deteriorates, our flexibility deteriorates, our immune system deteriorates, and the problems start to reach such a crisis that we become an imminent victim of a heart attack, a stroke, a cancer, etc.
And so this program is more in depth as well.
Right. This program brings you the strategies that were discovered through mainstream medical research, actually, that allow you to use natural products, nothing you need to go to a doctor for, it's stuff you can get on the internet, stuff you can buy in your stores, stuff you can get access to, so that you can strategically approach calcification in a way that's intelligent. You can strategically approach ramping up your immune system or ramping down your immune system in a way where you have all the tools that you need. And it's really important to have all the tools, because with the tools we have the choices, and that's really what freedom is about.
And what about somebody that already has really bad arthritis, or do you think it's reversible?
Yes, all arthritis is reversible. If somebody's been dealing with it for, say, 20 years, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take a long time to dissolve that bad calcium. I don't have all the answers, but I'm definitely on the right track. And you can be on the right track by observing the protocols and strategies that are in the Longevity Now program. It's going to help you to have leverage. And I was mentioning it in my presentation earlier, Archimedes' famous phrase, give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum strong enough, and I can move the world. Well, this program is the beginning of getting serious leverage on advanced problematic diseases, including arthritis, including cardiovascular disease, and including cancers.
And you've seen this with your own eyes.
I've seen amazing things just with this particular product. For example, the dissolving of calcium bumps on people's bodies within 5 days, the complete dissolving of calcium bumps. I've also seen absolutely outrageous healing. I was just with the chemist who, him and I developed this product over the last 6 years. One of the things that he has been doing is giving this out to his friends, people who've been very ill. A woman with leukemia, back to work, everything fine. Another gentleman with MS and spastic MS, so he was in seizures. He had that kind of MS, very severe, 6 years, through topically applying something like this, which is, again, part of the strategies that's in here. And we talk about even how you can make this. This is a product that if you study hard enough, as I did, and you spend enough money in research, which I did out of my own pocket, I eventually cracked the secret of this. But we give you those tools. I mean, I hint at those all the time in all my books, how you can do this at home, and you can create these kind of things. What eventually happened for that man who was having those seizures, he actually got out of his sister's basement where he had been living, bought a motorcycle, and drove off and said, I'm going to go start my life over. I've seen it all. I mean, I've been in the healing field for 17 years as a professional. You see it all. You see people who did heal themselves of breast cancer. It's always individual to the person, by the way. Sure. It's very individual to the person. You see people who've healed themselves of multiple myelomas. You meet people who've healed themselves of skin cancer. You meet people who've healed themselves of leukemias, lymphomas. And that's that gleaning that knowledge, what I've learned from those people, and coming up with a program that's kind of doable as a preventative, but also as something that can help you with the healing if you're already advanced into those conditions, is really what this is about. We've got to get onto an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Absolutely. What do you think about? Are you strictly raw? I mean, you're only eating raw food.
Right, I'm a raw foodist.
And so,
yeah.
And what about the Chinese philosophy of the qi and needing to warm? I mean, have you studied this kind of stuff as well?
Absolutely. I'm actually a student of Amazonian shamanism, Chinese medicine, Taoist tonic herbalism, Ayurvedic medicine, traditional European folk herbalism, Central American shamanism, North American herbalism, and to some degree African and Egyptian herbalism and herbal systems, as well as the Essene systems of diet and nutrition that go back thousands of years. And from that cross-referencing of that information, I definitely feel like raw food is for everybody, but not totally raw food. We all have to have some raw food because that's what's natural. If we get to the point of like, okay, you have to cook lettuce, it's like, look, we got to draw the line. It's like, you don't cook lettuce. That's like, eating snot. It's absolutely disgusting, right? It's like, come on. So at some point, if we just get dragged around in all these nutritional theories, we'll just get dragged around. We're never going to be able to actually achieve what we want. But with raw food, I can tell you what you will achieve. There's two things. One is you get an original connection to the earth. This is the food the way the earth created it. Every creature out there is raw. A bear, they're not eating Doritos for lunch. What about Flintstones chewable vitamins? You're never going to find a wild chipmunk eating Flintstones chewable vitamins. So we have that natural piece. The other thing is raw food teaches you a lot about your own metabolism. If somebody eats a raw food diet for, say, 3 months, even if it's not for them, even if they really shouldn't do it, and they're better off eating 70% raw food, for example, they will definitely learn more about their body and metabolism than they could have ever learned from books. And that's one of the things I can say 100% for sure, and that's been my observation. If people give raw food a shot, it will teach them about their own metabolism and body in a wonderful way, and then they'll learn, okay, I actually need to have this much cooked food, I need to have some animal food, I need to have this or that, and they'll learn what's balanced for them. Because we're coming out of a dietary holocaust, we don't know. We have no idea. I mean, we're all over the place. And it's good to kind of clear the slate with the raw food, clear all the junk off, clear everything out, start again fresh, and rebuild our diet from there and our diet strategy.
Are there diet strategies in this as well?
Yes, there are. There's a whole detailed section on dietary strategies, as well as strategies to remove and deal with the toxins of civilization, which are extensive. Again, it's 75,000 different artificial chemicals have been introduced into our environment in the last 70 years, and we have figured out solutions to all that. There's never a problem without a solution. But a lot of times we don't know the solution. They're not telling us on 60 Minutes what the solution is. They'll tell us a problem, but they don't tell us what the solution is.
And the solution, I think, is in that. What is the future of food? What do you think?
The future of food is, I believe, going to bank on the great herbal systems of the world. And generally, it's going to move more towards the superfoods and the super herbs. Not all foods are created equal. I love celery. I love celery juice. I love juices. I love vegetable juice. But you can't compare that to astragalus, the great Chinese herb. It's hard to compare it to tulsi, the great Ayurvedic herb. It's hard to compare it to asparagus root, which is ranked in the top 5 in Ayurvedic medicine and Chinese medicine in terms of its power and tonic properties. So, there's only so much we can eat in a day. How much can you eat in a day? And at some point, the better stuff, if it's there, you're going to go, I'd just rather have that.
Sure. And feel better.
Yeah, if you eat better, you feel better. Exactly. I just want to simplify that because people are like, why would I want to eat better? If you eat better, you feel better. If you feel better, you think better thoughts, you have a better dynamic in your life, your relationships are happier, you feel happier. How about legalize happiness?
I say eating consciously leads to higher consciousness.
I actually totally agree with that eating consciously leads to higher consciousness, and I also agree with this, that we can't hold the dissimilar aspects of higher consciousness in a body that's being fed by junk food. Because as you get deeper into this whole realm of consciousness, you realize that there's oxymorons built in, there are paradoxes that are part of reality, and how can you hold these ideas? And this leads to kind of fanaticism. It's like, no, it's all this, because we can't hold the paradox. Part of holding the paradox is having the biology that can hold it.
Absolutely. Menopause has been a question that's come in from some of my subscribers. Diet?
Well, there's silver bullets that are out there. Krill oil is really on the money for menopausal symptoms and also menstrual disorders. Definitely maca is another silver bullet, M-A-C-A. So krill oil is a DHA-rich kind of fish oil, but it's made out of krill, which is the basis of the entire animal kingdom. Essentially, there's 10 times more krill in the world. Some people say 100 times than there are ants. Wow. Just to give you an idea of how much that is. That's a pretty big number.
Okay, and balancing grounding. This is something that I just learned about today at the Longevity Now conference. I would love you to tell us a little bit about it. So important.
Grounding is the idea that we need to have a direct connection to the earth, and it needs to be a skin-to-skin connection. So people say, I went to the park, I had a great time at the park, we had an awesome time on the grass. When it's like, okay, you were in shoes and jeans, and you never actually touched the grass with your bare skin. The earth is saturated in negatively charged electricity. And this has been known for over 100 years. When they started laying telegraph wire across the earth, they realized that the earth actually has an electrical charge on it. And it's negatively charged. The atmosphere is positively charged. So it's like two ends of a battery. There's a negative side and a positive side. And together they create electricity. That's the basis of lightning. We should be negatively charged. But due to the shoe wearing, due to living in carpeted houses, due to never actually touching the earth and getting the electricity directly through our skin from the earth, we start getting excessive amounts of positive charge or static electricity. And that static electricity breaks down our immune system. My belief is about this thing that happens in November in most areas of the northern hemisphere of the world where people start getting flus and colds. The real reason is because as the atmosphere moves from, say, an autumn wetness to a dry winter, right? That's what happens when water freezes. It dries out the atmosphere. It creates a static charge. It creates static charge in carpets, for example, or in your coat, and that breaks down your immune system. But if you're grounded, if you actually touch the earth directly, or if you use grounded technologies which allow you to bring the earth's charge right to your feet or to your hands or to sleep on it, you immediately push the static charge off of you, or static electricity, so it improves your immune system. We know that grounding or being on the earth barefoot actually improves our blood profile between 40 minutes and an hour and 20 minutes. It radically changes our blood. We know that it drops the amount of neurological activity on our left hemisphere in our brain dramatically, immediately. As soon as you touch the earth barefoot, the abacus that's constantly swaying things and logical and rational suddenly turns off. So we get actually connected back to nature's irrational female side, which is very, very important in our world today because we become hyper-rational, and that's creating confusion because the world isn't rational. It's part rational, it's part irrational, it's both.
Yeah.
And being connected to the earth reconnects us to that level of consciousness. Because the earth is a consciousness.
Absolutely.
We're an electrical being way before we're a chemical being. Way before. The electricity affects us at the speed of light. We've got to get that time swimming in the ocean, so we're grounded. We've got to get that time barefoot on the earth. We've got to get that time laying on the grass where our skin actually touches the grass. We've got to get that time connected to the electromagnetics of the earth so we get more protection from all these aberrant radio waves and EMF fields that we're getting hit by all the time from our appliances.
Amazing. So this is covered in there as well.
There's a whole section on that in there, and the importance of grounding. This whole thing is actually all down to one page. All this is broken down into one page. That's the simplicity. A friend of mine came to me and said, "Can you break this all down to one page?" I said, "Yep, here it is. It's on page. I think it's on page 12 or wherever it is here. Let's have a look. There it is, page 24. So the whole thing is right there. It's all broken down onto one page for you. That's the simplicity piece. So you can literally photocopy that and throw it on your fridge. You can just rip that page out, throw that on your fridge, so you can kind of look at it and go, okay, we're getting all the pieces of the puzzle. These are 5 strategies that you try to accomplish every single day.
Right.
Yeah.
And how difficult do you think it is?
It's easy.
It's easy.
Yeah, it's as easy as brushing your teeth.
Okay.
And here's what I find amazing. You brushed your teeth this morning. You brushed your teeth yesterday morning. You brushed your teeth the morning before that. You've probably brushed your teeth in a strict, disciplined way since you were 3 years old. That, to me, is the impossible. That is amazing. If you can do that, you can do this. You can do anything, actually. You have the discipline. People say I don't have the discipline. It's like, what are you talking about? You brush your teeth. You have the discipline.
This is so important, though. I mean, brushing your teeth is important too, but this is important information.
It's critical, and it's taking us up to it's the upgrade. We're a lot of times we're back on a nutritional system that may be 20 years old or 50 years old or 100 years old. Now we've got to come up to speed with where we are today, right now.
That's perfect because my tag phrase is mind, body, and soul upgrade.
Oh right, okay, yeah,
For the angel
very
frequency.
nice.
Thank you. So can we talk about mushrooms?
Sure.
I know you like to talk about
mushrooms. I did a piece. This actually always comes with the program.
Great.
With Paul Stamets, who's one of the world's leading mushroom researchers and a dear friend and colleague, and he has brought to light the medicinal powers of the tree mushrooms. So there are mushrooms that grow out of the ground, and there are mushrooms that recycle trees. The mushrooms that recycle trees, chaga, reishi, maitake, that's shiitake right there. These mushrooms have very strong medicinal antibiotic powers, and they affect our immune system radically. In fact, they are food for our immune system. They're available in every health food store in the Western world, which is just shocking. It's shocking. And what that means is that you can access antibiotics that are better than the antibiotics that are being sold to you by doctors and pharmaceutical companies because they're intelligent. They haven't had the intelligence stripped away chemically like they do with pharmaceuticals, because all these pharmaceutical antibiotics are actually also made out of mushrooms.
Sure.
Streptomycin, penicillin is a mushroom or a fungi. Tetracycline is an extract of a fungi. So why do we want that? Why don't we just go right to the real stuff and the stuff that is time proven? Reishi mushroom is time proven, has 5,000 years of research behind it. I mean, that's, people say, well, this drug's been out for 2 years and the FDA approved it. It's like, well, this has been out for at least 5,000 years, and it doesn't need to be approved by anybody because it's been used by millions, even billions of humans over the history of time we've been here.
And the reishi mushroom, you showed us a picture of it. Can you actually eat it raw off the tree or cook
When it's very young, very young, you can eat it raw because it's spongy.
Okay.
But as it hardens, it develops chitin or chitin, which is a very strong fiber. It's almost an indigestible fiber. And what you would do there is you would just literally break up the mushroom by hand after you've picked it and dried it, and then you would make a tea out of it.
Nice.
And it's a wonderful tea. When you find your first reishi mushroom and you pick it and you dry it and you make tea out of it, it tastes like butter. It tastes like hot butter. It is such an experience. And it's different even, you can get reishi mushroom from, for example, these retailers of Chinese herbs, but they're not wild.
Oh.
And they're still good. They're great, but they're a little bit bitter. But the wild stuff is buttery.
It's always the wild stuff that's better.
It's better, yeah.
So you have a love affair with chocolate.
Yes.
Tell us about your love affair.
When I first ate a cacao bean, it was in, I think, 2002. And I was at a friend's place in Hawaii, and we were peeling cacao beans, and we'd been doing that every time I went to Hawaii for a number of years, and we're throwing them into our coconut smoothies, and we were always doing these awesome coconut smoothies with spirulina in it, and all these exotic herbs and things we could find in Hawaii. We'd throw that in there. Anyway, we were peeling cacao beans one day, and a friend of mine said, "Hey, have you ever just eaten one?" And I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know that this is where chocolate comes from. All chocolate is made out of a nut. That nut we call a bean. It's not a bean, it's a nut. It's called cocoa or cacao. It's the most widely eaten nut in the world that nobody actually eats. And one day my friend said, "Hey, have you ever eaten one?" I said, "No." And he said, "Check it out." So I peeled the next one and I ate it. As soon as I bit into it, the cacao god appeared. Or something. It was like, my immediate thought was, oh my God, this exists. Because I'm a raw foodist, so I hadn't had chocolate. I hadn't had chocolate even since I was about 15 years old because I wasn't a candy eater. I never ate candy. I never was into that. Maybe at 15 years old I left that all behind. And the flavor was so overwhelming and so powerful. And then the synchronicities that immediately followed that day and that night and the next day were so profound that I can say nothing more than it was a pure download from the cacao god of like, okay, I signed on the bottom line with the devil. I sold my soul. I'm in hell now. Get me out of here. It was literally like that. Because our story, by the way, of Faust, the alchemist who sells his soul to the devil for fame and fortune, is the story of the cacao god. It is the story of chocolate, actually. And it's where that story comes from. Archetypically, for those of us who are into more of the subtle energies of food and the archetypical energies and metaphysical energies of life, these stories just don't appear out of nowhere. They come from somewhere. And that's the story of chocolate. And so where we are with the story of chocolate is now we're on the second story, the second part of Faust. How does that alchemist who got thrown into hell, who signed on the dotted line with the devil, how does that dude get out of jail, right? Get out of jail free card. And that's what we're into now is the exploration and development of the raw chocolate industry, of bringing raw cacao or raw cocoa to people all over the world. And that's been going on for about 8 years now. So if you're just tuning in and hearing about this now, you're a little bit behind the 8 ball. No problem. We welcome you with open arms. We love you and get ready to have the most incredible chocolate experience you ever could have believed possible by eating real raw chocolate.
And tell them about how come it's good for you.
So what's in chocolate? What's in cacao that's so powerful? Well, it's really, from a nutritional perspective, it's primarily the minerals. Magnesium, phosphorus, iron, chromium, and of course zinc and copper and manganese, all in therapeutic dosages, which is really unusual. There's no other food in the world that has elevated therapeutic levels of magnesium and phosphorus together. Now what that means to me as a nutritionist, that means bone density. That means it's amazing for your bones. And if you do the research, if you study up on it, you will find that chocolate eaters live longer than the general population. In fact, the longest lived people are chocolate eaters. And they have the best bone density and they have the best hearts because chocolate is actually good for your heart. Now, that's because of the magnesium from one perspective, but also there are compounds in chocolate that break apart plaque formation in our cardiovascular system. There's several compounds actually. They're found in cacao, they're found in goji berry, they're found in bell pepper. They're all the same types of compounds. Cacao contains anandamide, which is a natural endorphin. It's the compound we release and we secrete into our system when we get a runner's high or a workout high. And there's only one food in the world that actually contains it. It's chocolate. What else can you say about chocolate? It's got soluble fiber. It's an excellent source of fiber, but it's soluble fiber. Chocolate was always consumed as a drink throughout all history up until 1828 when the chocolate bar was invented in Massachusetts. Up until that time, you'd always crush chocolate down and try to mix it into water. Today, with this whole chocolate revolution that's happening, we're now doing all these blended chocolate drinks. There's a whole revolution of blended herbal chocolate drinks that's hit the table now. And what you do is you can just blend that chocolate up. You drink these cacao beans. You drink them. They completely go into the liquid. They become a smoothie. But it comes out solid. It goes in liquid, comes out solid. That's soluble fiber, and that helps you with your overall digestive cascade. It helps to draw off all the waste products of metabolism and all the toxins. And I could probably go on for hours about chocolate. I can't let chocolate go, though, without one more statement about the amazing nutritional properties of cacao and raw chocolate. And that is, cacao is the #1 antioxidant food in the whole world. It's 10 times higher, 20 times higher than red wine and green tea. It's 15 times higher than blueberries. It's 5 times higher than goji berry. It's 3 times higher than acai. It's an extraordinary antioxidant source. And antioxidants protect our DNA. They protect our cells. They basically provide us with the tools of longevity.
Amazing. It sounds like a chocolate revolution could save the world.
We call it the chocolate tsunami.
I love it.
So back in the Willy Wonka days, it was the chocolate waterfall. Now it's the chocolate tsunami.
Do you think that aging is a disease?
Aging is associated with many different types of infections. In particular, chronic inflammatory problems that are created by hepatitis, herpes, chlamydia infections, which are interesting because those can all be transmitted sexually, interestingly. Bacterial infections, calcium-forming organism infections. That doesn't have to be the case. We can clean out those infections out of our body and get younger. So my feeling about aging is most of the aging that we see in our world is a saturation of organisms that are leeching off of our vital life force. Some people call them parasites. And when I say parasites, I'm not talking about creepy crawlies and wiggly wormies. I'm talking about viruses. I'm talking about bacteria, bad bacteria. I'm talking about fungus and mold like candida, which, by the way, I'm also talking about cancer cells, which are parasitical to our organism. And if we can clear that stuff out, then we not only become younger and our immune system functions better, but we also see the possibility and the prospects of how far it goes. And that's where I really see a lot of inspiration for the future. Because we have the tools now to clear out the infections. We know what to do. And we've, of course, have more leverage now in the age of information than we've ever had. Of course, right? Knowledge isn't folding over every 2 years. I mean, where are we really in the field of nutrition and health? We don't know, but we're pretty far along. And what I'm doing here with the longevity program, and pretty much all my work, is helping to bring us all up to speed with where it's really at.
And how old do you want to live to be, David?
3,000. That's my written goal.
Nice.
And my written goal is written this way. I live 3,000 years. You can't believe what thoughts that brings up in your head. You can't believe how much that will inspire you to go deeper and deeper and deeper. What books that will cause you to read. What studies and research projects that will cause you to undertake.
Amazing.
It's awesome.
I have stolen you from your conference, and I know you have to run back, so I just want to say I could ask you so many more questions. I hope I'm going to have another opportunity in the future. But right now, we're going to focus on this, dive into this, dive back into your conference, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Angelique. It's been a pleasure.
It's really been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Have the best day ever, and we'll see you at a longevity conference or some event sometime in the future.